Hello, I'm Harry Bingham, and we're here to talk about how to plot a novel. I've written a few of them myself, and some of them become bestsellers, so I'll tell you what I can. We don't have long, but I've got 7 points, and if you follow these 7 points, you're not going to be in bad shape. Point number 1. Give your protagonist, that's your main character, your hero or your heroine, give them an objective, something that matters to them. Simple. Point 2. That objective has got to be hard, it's got to be something difficult to accomplish. It's got to be consistent, they need the same purpose at the beginning of the book, in the middle and at the end. It's no good giving them a succession of different objectives, that won't work. Third, the character has to care about it. It has to really matter to them. If it doesn't matter to them that much, or if they've got good alternatives to achieving that objective, then they don't really care and the reader's not going to care either. So, the objective has got to be hard, it's got to be consistent, and it's got to be something that really matters. Point 3. This will be familiar to you from any Hollywood movie you've ever seen. That jeopardy has got to increase. What does that mean? Well, it really means 2 things. 1, the difficulties or dangers in between the main character and their objective, those problems have got to get higher and higher the further you go through the book. So, just before the end of the book, it's got to look impossible that the main character achieves what they want to achieve. That's part of it. The other part of it is that whereas, let's say, a love story, it might begin with a romantic interest, towards the end of the book, it's got to become clear that that is the romantic interest of the hero or heroine's life. It's got to become overwhelmingly important. So, inside the objectives, the stakes have got to mount as well. That's point 3. Point 4, a phrase you may have heard before, but not fully understood. Enter late and leave early. Let's take that in 2 parts. Enter late. What does that mean? Well, you'll have heard the old saying, put the corpse on page 1. And what that really means is, start the story immediately. That doesn't necessarily mean page 1, of course, though if you can start on page 1, that's normally a good idea. But certainly by the end of chapter 1, you need to be in the flow of the story. In Victorian times, it might have been fine to have 2 or 3 or 20 chapters setting the scene. That won't work nowadays. You've got to start the story as early as possible. And as I say, that means by the end of chapter 1, pretty much at the latest. And what does the second part of it mean? Leave late. Leave early. What that means is that as soon as you've resolved the major question, the book is finished. So, for example, as soon as Elizabeth Bennet has achieved romantic success with Mr. Darcy, that's all we need. We don't need to see them engaged, we don't need to see them married, we don't need to see the kids, we don't need to see the happy ever after. The big question that has propelled the entire novel has been answered, so get out. That applies at the novel length, but it applies within each scene you write as well. There's no need to do lots of scene setting. Enter late, leave early. Point 5, always focus on the main character. That's who the reader cares about, and that's who you, as the writer, also need to care about. For sure, it might be helpful to bring in subsidiary characters that help set a scene, or that help fill in a little bit of backstory, but the reader isn't interested in those secondary characters. As soon as you take the main characters off the page, the interest in the story starts to subside, and you're starting to lose your reader. So keep the focus relentlessly on your main characters. Point 6. Throw in a little mystery. Why not? Let me explain a couple of technical terms here. Mystery and suspense. Suspense is something that is a question, an unresolved question about the future. Will James Bond save the world, for example? Mystery is something that has to do with the past. Some unknown question, like who killed Mr. Jones in the study, or whatever it is. Suspense is probably the more powerful driver of plot. It's the one that really has our palms sweating. It's the one that most Hollywood films rely on. But if you can throw in a little mystery as well, you've got 2 propellers driving your ship, not just 1. And that ship will go a little bit faster as a consequence. Point 7, keep things moving. You can never allow your novel to get static, not at the beginning, not at the end, and not in the middle. And there's a good way to tell whether you're keeping things moving enough or not. With each chapter you write, and I do mean every single chapter, you need to look at the position of your main character in relation to their objective. Has that relationship changed through the course of the chapter, or is things exactly the same at the end of the chapter as they were at the start? If they're exactly the same, then that chapter has stalled the book. It's killing the forward flow. The reader is getting bored. They may not even know it consciously, but they are getting bored. You have to delete the chapter. That's tough. It does sound tough, but it's the only thing you can do, and your book will really thank you for it. Well, I can't truly hope to answer the question how to plot a novel in a few minutes like this, but I hope that's given you the big 7. Give your protagonist an objective. Make it hard, make it consistent, and make the character care. Make sure that the jeopardy increases, point number 3. Point number 4, enter late, leave early. Point 5, focus relentlessly on the main character. 6, throw in a little bit of mystery. Why not? Not essential, but you'll get a little of extra juice if you can. And 7, keep things moving. There's more advice on our website, but I hope that gives you what you need to get started. Best of luck.